in the microwave. Can you
Ladies
close
and
the door?
gentlemen, good evening. It is the Nobody Asked to Me Guy show. I'm your host, Melvin Casey Lars. And guys, listen, advertisement all week. We have a fantastic show. You know, guys, we have with us none other than Mr. Guy Bryant. And I'm sure you've seen him on Good Morning America and other outlets where his moniker is Forever Dad. He's going to be talking with us this evening about that Forever Dad moniker. And for over 12 years, he's been a foster dad to over 50 young men and women. And we're just excited about having Mr. Guy Bryant on the Nobody Ask Me Guy platform this evening. Mr. Bryant, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you.
Well, listen, it's certainly a pleasure to have you here. And I was just, I'm telling you, man, I was just taken away once I started to, excuse me, start to follow you, and I happened to, honestly, I was telling you, there's no joke. I stumbled upon something, and I'm going, wow, this is an interesting gentleman. We've got to have this brother on our show, and we're just so excited that you have been gracious enough to accept our invitation.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Listen, brother Guy, if you will, and if I can call you Guy,
Sure.
brother Guy, if you will, if you tell us a little bit about you and give us a little more information, please.
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and I lived there until my until I got out of high school, and then I moved to Queens, New York, and I lived there for 3 years, and then I moved back to Brooklyn, and that's when I began foster care. I worked for New York City Administration for Children's Services, which is the agency that governs child protection in New York City. And I've been there. I've been with the city a total of 42 years. I've been 32 years at New York City Children's Services. It is the only job I know. I've had other part-time jobs, but this has been my full-time job ever since I started working. I am, at this point, I'm 62, about to be 63, and considering retirement, but I'll never retire from working with kids. I will always work with kids.
You know, that's really fantastic. And by the way, if you're 62, about to be 63, you are still a young buck. You're still a young buck, brother. You're still a young buck. You gotta, you
I
have a
need
lot.
to tell
You have a
myself
lot.
that in the morning.
You have a lot more to go. Well, listen, I know
Okay.
earlier. I don't know if he's there with you right now, but we had one of your kids that was there assisting us by the name of Romario.
Mhm.
Is Romario still with you, or would
Yeah.
you like to introduce Romario or share a little bit about Romario with us, or maybe he'd like to share a little bit about himself as we get the show going?
Okay. I'm actually Mario was on my caseload at at my job, and he was living in a shelter, and I just felt like this this guy does not belong there. And I asked him, did he want to come live with me as a foster kid, and he agreed. Yeah.
Wow.
Romario, come in, and he agreed to do so.
Okay.
And it's been one of the better experiences in foster care I've had. He is such a great guy. He's my right hand man, and I love him to death. Uh, he just he does he'll do anything I ask him to do. He's very consistent with me, and I just don't find much fault in him at all.
That's cool. That's cool because you know what? As we await Romario's arrival, you you and I both know, being men and you being the forever dad, we know the impact that men have in boys' lives, and know the
Hmm.
detriment that they deal with when they are not afforded that opportunity. And of course, that's no knock on moms. You know, we
Yeah.
know moms are fantastic, and we all love our moms, but just to have someone like a guy Brian who has the insight and has the love to want to give a part of you to help these young men is nothing short of phenomenal. And
Thank
we
you.
just want to applaud you again for that. I do want to share with our audience, and I see the thumbs going up and the hearts going up. We know that you don't do it for the back patting, but we know that you do it because of the heart that you have, and we want to certainly thank you for that. But listen,
Thank you. Mario's here.
okay. Let's talk to Romario a little bit. Let's talk to Romario a little bit here. Romario, how are you
Hello.
doing, sir?
Hello, sir.
And welcome to the Nobody Asking Me Guy show. We're happy that you're there with your dad, Mr. Guy Bryant, and we were asking Brother Bryant about you and how you guys, if I can use the word, connected. And he was sharing a little bit with us. Would you like to share a little bit with us as far as being with Brother Bryant and how you came about it and how does it serve your purpose?
I came about it by not really so sure, but I know I was in job court, and then I don't know how I got onto his case, but I got onto his caseload, and basically he seen that because I was in a shelter and I was gonna return back to the shelter, so he was seeing that like it's not for me because I guess I seem like a person that's not for the shelter. I don't know, like outspoken, I don't know something, but from there he just seemed like it was like not for me, so he took me in, and from there we could have a great connection. Like I call him my father, like. That's how it really is.
Wow.
This the foster home I'm in, basically this home is basically family oriented. So basically we go on trips, we eat dinner together, we have our differences, but we always come and have a resolution to it. We have house meetings and stuff like family oriented things.
Well, listen, Demario, I'm sorry, Romario,
Sorry.
I want to ask you one question. If ever
Mhm.
in your lifetime, and if I'm this old man is still living, and if you ever find a family that doesn't have differences sometimes, please let me be the first person you call and introduce to that family. Okay? Because it does happen. But listen. Speaking of the shelter and being a young man of African descent, do you find that people are kinder, or do you find that they just basically have an attitude of not caring, or maybe even do you find that people sometimes have a tendency to blame you for having to have been in a shelter?
What do you mean in general or
And just in general,
Can you repeat the question again, please?
do you find as you move around and having, for whatever reason, and I'm not asking you to get into your personal business, but
Open book.
people sometimes can be so cruel. And the question I'm asking is, do you find that people that you encounter may be generally kind? Do you find that people you encounter may be just really not very sensitive to your plight? Or do you find sometimes that they just don't care?
Um, well, from being on my own, like not in the care of my mother or whatnot, I've ran into a bunch of people. But this is New York City. Everyone to live in New York City, you have to have wealth, or you have to have something, because it ain't free to live in New York City. I ain't gonna lie. So therefore, that being said, everybody I usually 90% of people that I run into, they're basically about themselves. Like that's what New York City really is about. Like everyone's really about themselves. But I mean, the 10% that I do run into, like they generally care about you. They generally want the best interest for you. They want you to grow. They want you to, pursue your career, your dreams, and whatnot. They just want you to be successful.
Well, actually, well, listen, your dad has already shared with me that you have some other processes, so I won't hold you long because I want to get back to your dad as well. But do you mind sharing some of your dreams and aspirations with us before you get back to your other projects?
So I'm 21. I just graduated high school. My biggest, my
Congratulations.
ultimate. Thank you so much. My ultimate career pathway would be becoming a fashion designer, but I don't want to just make
Stop
clothes.
right there.
I want to make. All right.
Guess what?
Yes, sir.
When you and your dad finish, I want you to go to your website and look up Byron Lars Beauty Mark. Byron was on my show last week. Byron is a world-renowned international fashion designer right there in New York. When you look that information up, then get back with me. I will introduce the two of you. So please continue.
With that being said, I just don't want to make just clothes. I want to make furniture, bricks for houses, almost anything you could name of, like household appliances. I want to make it all. I just want to be the biggest designer for the whole world. Like every household has a product of Vassell or Romario. You feel me? That's exactly how I want it to be. But I don't want it to be, like anything faulty. I want all my things to be like number one.
Wow.
With that being said, I'm about to do. But before I get into that, I want to do electrician work. I went to a trade school, so my trade school I got 5 years on hands training on electrician work. So I know how to wire up a whole house, whole everything, buildings. I just don't know escalators, motors. So I don't know escalators, elevators, stuff like. I don't have that knowledge yet.
Okay.
I'm my OSHA 10. I'm waiting for my OSHA 30.
Hey man, that's super. Listen, as you share that, and I promise you, I will let you go. But as you share that,
Thank you.
Byron started out wanting to be an engineer, and I'm sure he'll tell you his story. He and the girlfriend had a tete-a-tete about making this pants or something, and then it was something about a prom dress, and he popped off and made some smart remark, and she made a remark and told him, "You do it," and the rest is history. I mean, I don't know if he even took time to go to engineering school. He wound up going to fashion school. The both of them, and the rest is history. So I just think it'd be a good connection for just for you guys to talk. Your dad is certainly such a phenomenal man, and any connections that I have, I'm saying to him on air for the first time because we hadn't talked about this. But any connections I have, he has. Okay.
All right.
So listen, it's been great talking with you, and I appreciate
Great
you
talk.
sharing with us. And I want you to once you've had an opportunity to check him out, let your dad know, and your dad and I will be talking. And I'm making a commitment to you on air among thousands of people. By the way, you are going all over the country. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm making a commitment to see to you and Byron have an opportunity to at least have a conversation with one another, and you can share with him your experience as well. And he's right there in New York.
Okay.
Hey man, thank you for being here with us.
No problem. Also, can you send him Byron's like the information for Byron? I would appreciate it.
Well, listen, I will get that information to your dad. I'll talk with Byron and let him know that we've had this conversation, and I want you to have done a little research. I want you to go to Byron Lars Beauty Mark and
All right.
check some things out there, and so you have a little information. Okay, man.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, Brother Brian, this world
Yes,
gets
sir.
smaller and smaller, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Well, listen, let's talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about the state of affairs when it comes to being a father. Now, I know very clearly that that's a generic statement. I know that everyone have their idea. Has his moms and dads have their ideas. The general public, the government, everybody have their idea about being a dad. But you have taken the next step. You brought these young men, you brought these young women into your home, and you continue to serve as a dad to this day. Will you share with us what gave you that impetus to make that move?
Okay, what happened is New York City used to have what's known as city group homes, and then there were private group homes. I was the manager of the city group home, and I was called the house parent. And there were 2 staff on duty, and sometimes between 6 and 12 kids. So usually a male and a female would be on duty together. We'd have dinner, breakfast, whatever. And I really enjoyed that. Then New York City contracted all of those group homes out to private agencies. So I was without a job at that point. So I had a job, but it wasn't in the group homes. It was in the office, and I was very unhappy. So at that point, I decided that I wanted to take foster youth in, and that's what happened then.
Wow. And I'm sure you remember the name of the first person you took in,
Sure, I do.
and that person was
His name is Rob.
Rob. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
And
and he was on the caseload as well, and he was having a difficult time being placed, and asked me, "Would you take me?" And I was like, "I don't know about that," and thought that's not a bad idea. And then he had a friend who had a difficult time finding a foster home, and I took him. And his brother, the friend's brother, moved in. He wasn't even in foster care. And by the time we finished, I had 9 kids in my home.
wow.
And I had to I had to move into a brown 2 floors. So it got really crowded.
So
It got really,
essentially, you started your home.
yeah, basically that's it.
Yeah. Wow,
That's it.
man. You know, that takes a lot of love and that takes a lot of care. But listen, I do want to ask this as we talk about love and care. We know sometimes how as human beings, sometimes a little envy and jealousy might creep into situations when we feel like that we possess, and especially as young people, you know, even though I know they helped one another to find you, do you ever encounter them being a little jealous of one another when it comes to you, comes to the time that you share with them?
Definitely. Over the years, there's always been one person that everybody says, "Oh, he's your favorite." Like right now, it's Romario. The other 3 is your favorite, and in actuality, he's not my favorite. It's just that I have more of a rapport with him, and he's more in tune to what I want for him. Where the others are not as in tune, and they're doing their own thing, and sometimes it's not the right thing. So therefore that means I have to more. And I have to correct Romario less. So it appears like he's my favorite, and I do love him to death. And I guess that is a fair assessment, but he's not, necessarily he could be my favorite. Just do what you need to do. Prior to coming here, he wasn't going to school at all. And I said, "You're not going to make it without school." So he said, "Okay." And he's already by then 18, and he got in school and he just graduated. So, he, like, whatever direction I give him, he takes it and runs with it. And I appreciate that.
Wow. Because we know as parents, our children can be a challenge. They could be, I mean, just because they are immature and because they are children, they've had so many vast experiences. So as Romario took instruction and received the care and the love that you're sharing, when you encounter sometimes, because we are all complex beings, when you encounter young men and women that may not, they want a place of refuge, but they're not really in tune to receiving advice, what would you suggest to a parent, be he maternal or fraternal, or be she maternal or fraternal? What might you suggest maybe one or two things that they might want to work on with said child or said children?
First of all, you have to establish, is that child capable of understanding what I want for them and what's right and wrong? Sometimes we assume that this child understands me, and it's just when with foster care, especially, that's not the case. Sometimes the kids may be may have some mental deficiencies. There might be some mental illness. There might be some um, developmental issues, and it's overlooked because they've been in foster care and nobody's ever addressed it. So, I mean, you keep trying and you keep trying until you can't try the point on several times. But I will say, look, this kid has to be removed from my home because I'm not servicing him the way he should be serviced. But I always give them another chance to come back. Sometimes I've given 2 chances to come back. So when you go other places and you see that it's not all it's cracked up to be and you want to come back, yeah, I'll give you the chance and the opportunity to come back and prove yourself. You don't have to prove who I am. All right. I do that every day. You have to prove to me that you want to be a responsible part of society. You have to show me that. And I try to get all of them to be able to show me that you want to be responsible so that I can help you get housing, employment, education, and to be on your own. My successes outweigh my failures. So I think I'm on the right track. I should have about a 75% success rate.
Wow, man. Listen, brother Guy, that's fantastic. You know, the reason I smile at that analogy is because to me it's simple. As a retired administrator, as a person that's a violence intervention prevention trainer, the whole nine, work with the young men, helping to extract them from gangs, the whole nine. When you hear the stories of parents, I'm not even talking foster parents, and when you say a 75% success rate, I'm sure, man, there are millions of parents, fraternal, maternal, that would like to trade places with you as far as the numbers. Because as you know already, it is a very challenging situation when we deal with various personalities, when we deal with various situations, and many times, as we well know, we have to unlearn, help them to unlearn certain situations and things that they've gone through. But you know, hey man, listen, hats off. Well, listen, let me ask you this because I want to be mindful of your time. Uh, with all of the recent murders, and I don't bite my tongue about that, I call them murders. With all of the recent murders and continuous murders of these young men, sadly, especially our black men and our young black men, do you find yourself having to have, quote, the talk with them sometimes about law enforcement and how to interact with law enforcement? Or if
I,
there is such
I,
a thing?
I have 4 young men in my home now. 2 of them are 21, 2 of them are 16. And the 21-year-olds have been with me since they were basically 17 years old. So I don't have to have that talk with them. The 16-year-olds, though, I have to have that talk every single day. Both of them seem to not hear me about it and think they're immune to everything, including our famous coronavirus. It's really been very difficult lately trying to get them to understand that this can be you, and showing them on the news what happened in Georgia. I said, this can be you. And they just think that it's not going to happen to me. I'm exempt from that. More difficult. And usually I don't work with kids that young. I take the kids who are aging out of the system because, in plain and simple, they're desperate. Like, oh my God, I'm aging out the system. What am I going to do now? And they're panicking. And I just slow the panic down and say, we got to have a plan, because those that plan, those people that plan are the people that make it. And I said, you got to have a plan. So once they get a plan in place and I can identify what's going on and what they're strong at, a lot of them run with it. I have a youth that works at the UN as an IT tech. I have a youth that's a
Wow.
manager at Starbucks. I have a youth that's a sous chef, and they're all kinds. I have And you know, once I feel like the one that's a sous chef, he always liked to cook. So okay, then you should go into cooking. IT tech at the UN, a senior IT tech at that. He was very good with computers and everything, so that's what he did. The one that's the manager at Starbucks is very bossy and opinionated, and he is meticulous. He is so meticulous about cleaning and everything is in order. And that was the perfect job for him. And he's been there a number and just bought a BMW, a brand new one. And he's doing very well. So you find what their strength is and you focus on that all the time. You talk about it every day. Your strength is this. You need to get with it. I'm not going to say it works with everybody, but like I said, 75% of them respond well to it. Because while you're telling them and pointing out what their strength is, you're encouraging them and telling them you're good at this. And everybody needs that kind of. So it's been a successful method for me, and I will continue to use it.
Wow. Listen, that is very impressive. It's because, you know, to be able to share with the world the successes that we have been blessed to attain is great. And I'm so happy to hear you say that. I have long been a proponent against those individuals that always say, well, you know, if you miss them in elementary school, they're lost. I detest that. And 99.9% of the people that I've had the pleasure, and I will say pleasure, of meeting and working with seem to have that attitude. And when I hear you say that, I embrace that as a kinship, brother Guy, because that's why I went into being a high school teacher and administrator, was because of that attitude. And you say how these guys are being ready to be processed out of the system, the fear factor. And that's why I say we are two brother kindreds. Is because I'm saying, no, that's when they need you, when they're when they're at the other end and everybody has counted them out and nobody's trying to help them. How in the world do you think they are going to be successful if we just trash them? So it's such a relief to hear you share that.
I call that, like, at that point, they're being ripe. They're ripe and ready. They're like, okay, all right, I got to do this now because I got to take care of myself. So usually I only take kids that are like 18 so that they can apply for housing. That's the first thing I do, giving them independence, apply for housing, because the housing waiting list is very long. While you're applying for housing, you have to have employment. And if you want to educate yourself further, then fine, let's do that too. But once you get them started on this, it becomes like, okay, what do I do today? Here's what. Well, then eventually I said, well, what do you have to do? You tell me what you need to do. I'm not going to go with you. I'm going to give you the paperwork. I'm going to tell you what you need to do, and you're going to go take care of it, because I'm not going to be there all your life taking care of it. And you got to start learning here. And if you've been in a household where mom was home all day long, looking out the window, screaming out the window at people, you've never seen work. You don't have work ethics. So you have to develop them really fast. So my thing is, it's a crash course on work ethics and on being responsible and on having my own. That's what I give them, the crash course in it.
Man, you talk about that's parenting 101, 102, 103, 105, because that everything that, and you know this, and for our listeners, I just want to share with you, brother Guy, because you can't see these monitors, but I'm talking, man, thumbs and hearts are going up all over the place, and we're grateful for that. And I do want to share with our audience. It's about we want to stay within our time. However, if any of them have a question, they'd like to come and FaceTime. You like guys would like to come and FaceTime brother Guy. Feel free to grab one of these cameras, and so don't be shy, because it's about time for us to end this segment of our show. But brother Guy, I please allow me again, and I know I've said this several times on this show already, but please allow me again to say how refreshing it is to actually meet someone that's making it happen. Because as you know, as we know, there's so much conversation, and I always say to my wife, and I'm very serious about that. You know, I said it has been my experience throughout my life, and I have a few years on you, brother, believe it or not. And it's I said it's
Really?
once the conversation's over, brother Guy, the people are over. You know, everybody have a lot to say, but once the conversation is done, they're done. So it's very refreshing to be able to meet a living, breathing, productive human being that have the love for his fellow man, that see the need for assisting these young persons in being able to be productive citizens that can feed themselves, that can house themselves, you know, that can make lives for themselves. I mean, there is no greater reward. There is no greater reward to have a setup like that. And as we get ready to go, I see Brother Andre. Glad you're here. Feel free to grab one of these cameras. Brother Andre, as I show already, Brother Andre he's a school teacher right there in New York. He's an elementary teacher. He's raising his three sons, and he talks about it often. He does relationship coaching as well. And your timing, Andre, is impeccable, because I was just sharing with Brother Guy, even though it's about time for us to go, it's just phenomenal to be able to meet gentlemen that stand by their conversation, and they are not just only conversation. But Brother Andre, if you like, and Mr. Guy have a couple of more minutes, if you want to, please grab one of these cameras, come on, join us, and share. But Brother Guy, I know we had the opportunity to meet Brother Romario, and I have to tell you this. I was just really happy that he was there, and that we could have a living, breathing person. And he didn't know, as you know, any questions I was going to ask him, because there was no prep time or anything like that. And you know, it's just amazing to have that young brother here with us, and we're certainly going to follow up on what we promised as far as making that connection. But let me ask this, and I'm asking because many times there's so much conversation about moms and the importance of moms, and we know, because you and I have talked about this the other day. You know, we all love our moms and wish they were there.
Yes, we do.
But when it comes to dads, as men having a conversation, do you think, and I'm asking what you think. I mean, I know you know, I have the market cornered on this at all. But do you think, because we have so many kids in foster care, is because the men won't step up, or they just don't have the inclination to be loving? Now I know that's a loaded question, but I just want your opinion.
I know it's not. I can speak on that because I tell my kids I love them on a regular basis. I have no qualms about doing that. I love you means that I think enough of you to put you in my life. So I tell them I love them. I love them with trips, with finance, with help. It's important. Our male population has an issue with saying I love you. And I've noticed that about a lot of people that are in intact families and have kids. And they're like, I work every day, I put food on the table, that means I love you. No, that's not enough. That is never enough. You have to be able to, and I want you to be better, and I'm going to help you to be better, because then that kid doesn't feel so alone. So I think that's always important, and it should never be missed.
That's great. Now, Brother Guy, this great young brother that you see at the screen, this is Brother Andre, and Brother Andre is raising three sons. He Andre, talk to us a little bit. I keep promising Brother Guy I'm going to let him go, but I'm having difficulty doing that.
Yeah, and that
because I'm loving this brother and the pain he's bringing.
Yeah, you have a knack for that. You like to keep the conversation going, bro. Can you hear me
man.
okay?
Yes, we hear you
All
fine.
right, cool, yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm just now catching it. I was in the middle of
No, glad you're here.
Doing some things here, and then I'm almost done with dinner, a late dinner tonight. Yeah, my son's asking me a question. Yeah, what's up?
Well, listen. Now that you're here, and we're glad that you're here. Our brother Guy and I have been talking with one another about the parenting aspect and his foster children and the men that he works with, and he shared so many things with us. And both of you guys are New Yorkers, by the way.
Yeah.
And he's Dre. Will you give us, if you don't mind? Yeah. Talk to us just a little bit about being a single dad raising 3 boys.
It has its rewards. I will say that, and the rewards is raising kids is not easy, and the reward is being able to watch them grow up. I can't imagine not ever being in my son's life and watching them grow up. Which for a while, I'm gonna be honest, it made it difficult for me to empathize with fathers who weren't present, because being there and watching them grow up, like my son is going to Morehouse next year. Morehouse, he's going to Morehouse. I remember when he was born, and I watched him grow up. I was there from the time he was conceived till now. I've been there, and it's a beautiful thing to watch them grow up. There's a lot of men that don't get to see that. Parenting's not perfect, but that is one of the greatest rewards to witness. Whether just watching your kids grow from childhood to adult. And as a single parent, my main goal was to instill a couple of things in them, and that was a resiliency, empathy, confidence, strength, and independence. I wanted them to get those things, all right, so that when they grow up, they can function in life and be responsible members of society. And thankfully, my boys are going in the right track. Growing up in a single parent home is not easy, and they definitely could have been on the negative side of numbers, of statistics. But right now, my sons are going in the right direction. Thank God for that. And they make me proud. So it has its challenges, but when they grow up, it's rewarding.
So, Brother Guy, what would you say to this young man? He's a 3rd grade teacher. He's rearing these boys, and he's big because he has shared with us before that he's a former youth pastor and the whole 9.
Yeah.
Do you have? And I guess maybe the question I want to ask, Brother Guy, instead of what would you say to the process, is do you often, or have you had the opportunity to encounter dads of any of your foster children?
Very rarely. Honestly, very rarely. It's a rare moment. One of my foster youth now, I'm in touch with his father on a regular basis, and they don't speak at all. But I speak to his father, and I understand where his father's coming from and the difficulty. But it's very rare that I meet a father that's been involved, especially with the young man.
Yeah. That's interesting because I'm sorry.
On one hand, I can actually count on one hand over the almost 60 kids now that I've fostered, over 60 boys that I can count on one hand how many fathers I've met and been involved with their sons, which is really sad. It's really sad.
Yeah.
Wow. I just wonder, and we couldn't have a better situation tonight. I'll be very honest with you. To have the forever dad that has fostered more than 50 children in 12 years, and to have Dre, who not only is an educator, but he has 3 sons. One that is a Morehouse man, and the whole 9. Because you know what? it serves a great purpose to shatter the myth that Black men are not in tune or available for our Black boys. Now, of course, we know that there needs to be improvement.
Mhm.
However, we are fed the narrative, and it's sad that so many people believe it, that none of us are available. Or those people that are available, like the Dre's of the world, like the Guy Bryants of the world, I won't even throw myself in the pile, but we are never the ones that the media talks to. Now, I do applaud Good Morning America for having you on, Brother Guy. That was fantastic, and the other shows that you've been on. However, we don't often get those stories to show that Black men are indeed involved, and that we do indeed teach our children and love our children and embrace our children. So it's just it's great to me, and it sadly the media tries to make it seem as though it's a phenomenon if you have persons that actually love our young men that look like us. Any last comments we'd like to make relative to our discussion tonight?
I,
Okay.
like I say, I've never done this for the notoriety. It is the last thing I've ever expected. I continue to do it because there was a need for it. So being the notoriety was not something that I was looking for. I welcome it because then I can share with other men that you can do this too, you know, and like I'm about to like pass the reins on to someone else, you know, it's that time and you can do this too. So there are some of my kids who are interested in being foster parents in the near future, which is a great thing to me because they definitely have a lot to offer. So I'm hoping that anybody who's in the sound of this video and anybody who's in the sound of this broadcast and is thinking about becoming a foster parent, please do so. You never know what you have to offer until that first kid walks into your home.
Wow. Hey, listen, great way to end the show. And as we end the show, let me say, Brother Guy, Andre is cooking for his kids, and he said he had to go take the chicken out of the oven. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, we love the thumbs up. We love all of the hearts that you're sending up. And we're just grateful for you being here. We want to thank Brother Guy Bryant, and I want to thank Brother Andre for coming in and helping us out and assisting us. So listen, Brother Bryant, if some of our viewers wanted to further the discussion or find some way to contact you, how would you suggest they do that?
They can reach me on Messenger, Facebook Messenger. My name is Guy Bryant. I believe that the picture that's that you've used for advertisement is my profile picture, and you can definitely reach me. I'm always willing to talk. I've talked to so many parents since these different appearances and stories. I've talked to many parents and given them as much advice as I can. I've even helped some of them with finding employment and finding shelter for their kids who are running the streets. So I have no issues with that. Feel free to contact me. I usually check my messenger once a day, so I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Wow, great. So listen, guys, there you have Mr. Guy Bryant. If you want to contact me, just go to your website. And well, no, my website is still under construction. I'm doing some various things, putting up some more video, but that's not your headache. You can contact me at the Nobody Asked Me Guy Show at gmail.com, all lowercase, the Nobody Asked Me Guy Show at gmail.com. And we always keep an office line open. That's really, it's an office line, but to me it's personal because I know that everything that people have to share is personal. So you can contact me at that number, 440-935-0374. And if I don't answer, I handle that myself. And if I don't answer, please leave a message and I will quickly return your call. Now listen, let me invite you back next Monday, this coming Monday on the 18th. We're going to have a mother, Ramona Smart from Oakland, California. And sadly, many of us are aware of an old movie called Mommy Dearest. This mom seems to have children dearest. And it's a very insightful conversation that Miss Smart and I will be having. And she certainly will be happy to talk to Brother Bryant. So let me invite you guys back on next Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. The Nobody Asked Me Guys show. Look for the listing. I'll be putting up the link so that you can come right to the show. So again, it's been great. And we want to thank all of you for joining us. We want everyone to have a great and blessed day. And again, we are so, so thankful for having Mr. Guy Bryant, the forever dad.